Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story, 7360300, always the number to call. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
How are you doing today?
I'm just great. It's hump day, right?
It is.
I know.
Hump day.
I know. What
Yeah,
day is it?
I know. We don't have that stuff anymore.
No, we
It got
don't.
lost.
Yeah,
It got lost
somehow.
somewhere.
But you got your things that you like. You still have the Democratic song. That thing hasn't gone away.
It just seems to hang in there.
I don't know why.
I know. I don't know what to say. It's still on the.
It's a mystery.
On the computer here.
I know.
The computer makes these decisions.
Oh, it does.
Not I.
So you can be replaced easily. Is that what you're saying?
You betcha.
Just turn it on. We'll go to breakfast.
We're going to find out just how easily I can be replaced here in about 21 days.
Oh, I knew the countdown's on. Is anyone else getting tired of this countdown besides me? Oh, my goodness.
Well, hey, what are they going to do? Fire me?
Oh, gosh.
So
If I had
anyway.
a dime for every time you said that, too. Be a wealthy woman by the time I leave.
Hey, coming up here at 8:40, we'll be talking to Johnny Yu about his Idaho horse therapy program and his reboot camp for veterans. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah. Very
And
successful,
yeah,
too.
very worthwhile. Mm-hmm. At 9 o'clock, we'll have Twin Falls City Council person Rebecca Mills-Soika joining us for State of the City.
That's right.
So if you have any questions or comments, you might want to get those put together right now.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're gonna talk this morning about the torture report being made public that's causing quite a bit of stir across the country right now. But we do have got one news story for this morning. They identified the 3 children who died in the RV
No, 2
fire.
died.
2 died. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
2 died.
The one was rescued.
Yeah, and boy, what a story that was. The mom was there.
Talking to them.
Talking to them and couldn't get to them. Can you imagine?
No.
I can't even imagine how. I can't imagine that. I just can't.
I think the one little
you
boy.
can talk to your children, but you know they're dying.
Yeah.
That is the worst possible scenario for a parent to go through.
And you can't help him. The one man, he cut his arm. He got the little girl out. But I guess one of the little boys, what I saw on the news today, was autistic, and he would lock the door a lot.
Yeah.
And the other one was, what was it, 1 and 4? So the 1-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, what could they do?
I know. It is just
so
one
awful.
of those. It is a tragic event that, there's nothing you can say.
Oh, gosh.
Nothing you can say.
There is a
And,
fund that's been set up for them. I mean, they lost everything.
Yeah, and it didn't sound like they had much to begin with, but
No.
what they did have, they lost.
Oh,
of
and
course,
2 kids.
and
Oy.
I mean, the material things are nothing compared to the loss of the 2
No.
children. So, anyway, I guess, well, let's see, they were, 1-year-old Damian Green and 4-year-old Caden Green. Their 3-year-old sister, Amaya Green, got out. She was rescued with minor injuries. The mom pulled her out through the window.
Yeah.
Was my understanding.
Or the neighbor, I don't know which. He said he had a
one
guy
or the
cut
other.
50 stitches in his arm.
I read the story. I was under the impression that it was the girl who got the gash, but I don't know. I kind of skimmed through it. But anyway,
No, I saw on the news that one of the neighbors, he got
Okay.
like 50 stitches. I think he grabbed the girl. The mother was trying to reach for the kids.
Yeah.
Her hands were burned, almost cut her finger off.
gee whiz.
And she's talking to her babies as they're
Yeah.
dying. Oh, my gosh.
One of the big stories out, of course,
Oh, wait,
today.
I'm just going to
sorry.
say, and they think the cause was a space heater. So please, I know people are using space heaters. Please. Be
I know.
careful.
Boy, I tell you what, space heaters have been responsible for more property damage and deaths and house fires than you can imagine.
Oh, I know.
And but people overload the circuits with them, and now and I don't know what the situation was there, but a lot of times with Christmas lights and stuff, I don't
Something
know.
gets just too
You
warm.
remember we watched it again over the weekend, Christmas Vacation with the Griswolds,
Yeah.
and how they had all the cords and stuff plugged into one spot with all of these triplexes and stuff. They had about 15 cords
What could
plugged
go
into
wrong?
one outlet. Yeah,
What
what
could
could
go wrong
possibly
there?
go wrong?
I know.
And that's kind of what we do. And
Yeah.
when there's only so much juice that is available
Yeah.
to come out of those sockets, and when you overload them, things heat up, and that's when things
I
catch
know.
fire and melt and have all sorts of issues. So,
Speaking
at
of
any
issue,
rate.
Gooding, we're going to talk about Gooding, right?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
What is the deal with Gooding? Gooding residents started a petition, filed a state ethics complaint seeking to push school superintendent Mary Larson out of her job. Two parents actually started the petition. They went door to door, created a page on change.org seeking signatures. About 75 people have signed the online petition, and about 250 signatures were collected in person. They decided to do it on the November weekend after more than 90% of Gooding School District employees issued a vote of no confidence in Larson and called for her resignation. So crowds of residents have attended school board meetings to get their sentiments on the record, she said. And I think they submitted a request to the school board Monday to present the petition during a Tuesday night board meeting, but she said her request was denied because it pertains to a personnel issue. More than 30 people packed the meeting room, but the board moved into executive session 4 minutes into the meeting, saying they had to meet privately with a person from Boise. The agenda said the executive session was to consult legal counsel. Community members waited in the lobby for more than an hour. Well, wasn't this, they also waited again before they started this a while ago. They went to the
seems
meeting.
like it.
They had to move somewhere else. They were waiting for an hour and a half. Then no one talked to them. So once back in open session, one agenda item was to discuss the superintendent evaluation process. Larson said she'll fill out her portion of the evaluation form before the next meeting in January. Then the board will add its comments. The district's policy only allows attendees to comment about agenda items, and apparently these guys were not on the agenda. So anyway, what does it take to get rid of someone? I mean, seriously, she was hired after being let go at another school facility with unsatisfactory marks for her yearly review. Why they hired her, who knows? 90% of the teachers aren't happy with her. Parents aren't happy with her, but they've hired a mediator. What was that for? Remember, $6,000?
Yeah.
A facilitator to work out issues in the district.
What is also puzzling to me anymore is it seems like when you have an issue like this and you have the public that wants to get involved and needs to get involved, but can't get involved because there are too many procedures that you just can't overcome. Well, you can't bring that up at the meeting because it's not on the agenda. Well, it's not on the agenda because somebody has to decide what goes on the agenda, and they decided that wasn't going to go on the agenda. So you're sitting here with a public that wants to become involved, and they can't because of these rules and regulations that block it from happening. And as we go along in society, more and more things just don't make sense to me. Well, it's no wonder you can't get anything done anymore. There's a rule for this and a regulation for that, and there's a privacy issue here, so you can't talk about it, and this is a personnel issue, so, oh, no, we can't talk about that, blah, blah, blah.
But 90% of your staff has a low confidence, or whatever they said, no confidence, whatever, with the superintendent. She's already put the principal on restriction for 2 days. I believe she fired the computer guy. I mean, come on, just deal with it. But to get things on an agenda with open meeting laws, you have to post it 48 hours ahead of time. I found this out being on the City Hall committee. But get it on the agenda. Obviously, I mean, they always say they want public input, but do they really?
Well, yeah, and why do they make it so difficult for that to happen?
I don't know. I mean, same thing with Filer. Same thing with Filer. You had how many people with the dog shooting wanting to talk, and no one talked to any of those people. City council hid. Do you want to talk to people? Do you not want to talk to people? Do you want them to get it out? Do you not? Do you want to deal with it? Do they have to deal with the superintendent who's terrorizing, or the teachers feel insecure and they feel like walking on eggshells? I mean, is that what you want in your school district? You don't have to do this. If you're not happy with someone, obviously she was let go before. Let her go and find someone. This is the best you could find that would come to the Gooding School District, someone who got an unsatisfactory review. That's what you want for your superintendent. You can't find someone else around the country. No one else you can find but someone who has unsatisfactory review from North Dakota. That's it? That's all you can find? Come on. Does this make sense?
No, there are.
Okay.
In fact, Benito and I were having this conversation. It wasn't even about this. a while ago. It's just in our society, in this day and age, for some reason, it's almost like common sense has just been tossed out. And things are so difficult to do with rules and regulations, and you want the input from the public, but yet you have all these rules and regulations that keep them from becoming involved. And it doesn't make sense. It seems like we are fighting ourselves. And it's not getting any better because there's always it's hard to explain. I don't know how to explain it.
Why can't you just fire her too? I mean, obviously you have most of the people that work for her are unhappy. The principal's unhappy. Obviously, the parents aren't happy. And
see,
you know what?
Sometimes there's regulations that say you just can't do that.
Well,
and I don't get that
either. Do you not have cause? Do they not have an employee handbook? Can't you write someone up 3 times and fire them? Hello? Why not? It always seems like there's some bigger agenda. Do you really want the people's input? Do you really want the people's input?
And a lot of
what
times,
do they have to do in
times they just bring up the fact, well, if you let me go, I'll sue, and then everybody
gets
scared and run. Exactly.
If you have it on your side, you're fine. I used to deal with labor issues for TGI Fridays for Reebok. As long as they documented it and you backed it up, fine. Fine. Let them sue.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean they'll win. You have an employee handbook that states, okay, you've got 3 write-ups, whatever. Then you can be terminated. We're like, aren't we a work for hire state anyway?
We're
What do you, I know, I'm losing my, whatever.
I can't even think of the term
I know,
now.
I totally bastardized that one. I don't know. What is it? Anyway.
You really got me messed up.
I know, I'm sorry. I got myself messed up. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When someone terminates you, they don't have to give you a reason.
No, you can actually be terminated if you're gay in Idaho and no reason, and that's still the facts. So, I don't understand this. Why would you try to keep someone? Why are you going to try to pay a facilitator $6,000 to keep someone? They paid someone $5,000 to find her. What, put an ad in the paper? It doesn't make sense.
I
Gooding
know.
School District is flush with money. $11,000 for what? Is she worth it?
I don't know. There are times when I just come on here and I'm speechless because of all the things that are going on. It's like, what? This defies common sense. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Morning. These open meeting laws, it's kind of interesting. It's designed to open up, the whole purpose of open meeting law is designed to open up these meetings and let the public know what's going on. And our elected officials, what I've seen is they abuse the law. They circumvent the law. They even the issue with with personnel issues and going to the executive session. If you read the law, it's not required. It's allowed. It's not a requirement, but it's an allowance. So, it's just one more way elected officials circumvent public actually seeing what they do.
Gotta go. Thanks for the call. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. The folks at Canyon Pond would like you to stop by sometime between now and Christmas. Today would be better.
Yeah,
see
it's
what
always
they got.
better. Less crowds.
That's right. That's right.
I hate the crowds.
And a clean store.
Clean store.
Yeah, they got guns, and I've been down there looking at them, and the stock changes every day because that's the way it happens at a pawn shop, and they are Twin Falls' newest pawn shop. And they've got, and I sit here and I talk about camping supplies and woodworking stuff. They've just got, it's a pawn shop. So you go down there and you're going to find probably a little bit of everything. And they would just like you to stop by and say hi and find something for Christmas for somebody.
Yeah.
You're a little short on cash, take something down there. They're a pawn shop, so they can pawn, give you a little extra cash.
Just don't go in your wife's jewelry box without asking her. Pawning some of her stuff. That
might be a problem.
And then if she can't find it for the Christmas party she wants to go, oh, you must have misplaced it.
Yeah.
No.
Or you could be honest and say, oh, yeah, I pawned that. I needed a new shotgun.
Do you want to hear what that reaction will be like?
So Canyon Pawn is right across the street on Shoshone Street from Will's Toyota. Mm-hmm. And on the corner of 3rd Avenue South, they got a big sign out front. You can't miss it.
You can't miss it.
I don't know, Jill. We could sit here and we could talk about common sense all day long, and there are just... It seems like when it comes to public policy, public decisions, that there just is no common sense anymore. And it seems like it's going from a majority rules to a minority rules type when one person can make a decision by throwing out some sort of a threat, I'm going to sue, and then that changes the whole procedure of what a city can or will do.
Yeah, but I mean, one person, you can sue for anything in this society. We are such a litigious society. So someone says, I'm going to sue. Okay, fine. But you know what? You also have to have grounds. Who knows if it's going to go through? And really, it's the school board to say, fine, we have cause, we have reason, we've written you up, we've followed our termination policy, we've done whatever, just because someone says that doesn't mean you have to buckle down and cower in like a fetal position in the corner. You know what? If you followed the right rules, and this is why employers have to have an employee handbook, you have to follow your termination policy. So if someone does that, you actually have, reason to terminate, you're fine. Right. You are fine. Let them sue. Let them.
Right to work state. That's what we
right
are.
To work.
Right
yeah,
to
I was like, work for right to work. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why those things are important. Be consistent, follow your employee handbook, give people warnings, tell them you're going to fire them if they do it again, whatever. So what if they sue? It doesn't mean they're going to win. It doesn't mean they're going to win. And
I know a lawsuit can sometimes be a little bit costly, but what is the cost if you don't follow the procedure? Mm-hmm.
And sometimes say, well, we'll just settle. It's cheaper than going to trial. Okay, well then, that's one thing too. But
yeah,
it's a pain. Believe me.
I know. It's difficult. It's just difficult sometimes to see what's going on and to just sit back and.
Why are they ignoring the residents
knowing
of Gooding?
Very well you probably can't get involved because there's a rule somewhere that, you can't do that, can't put it on the meeting agenda, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. Sometimes I think we need a reset in this country. We have so many rules and regulations. We have rules and regulations against rules and regulations,
I mean, to their credit, they are trying to have open meeting laws, but, and to get the public involved. But if you don't, here clearly the public wants to get involved. 90% of the teachers are not confident in this person. The town isn't confident. Deal with it. Maybe she's not the right fit.
But even when they do have the open meeting thing, and then the board will call executive session,
and they don't have to.
And there goes the public again, and then they don't have to say anything about what goes on. This just doesn't make sense to me. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just had a thought. What is really common sense? We know, older people know what common sense is by, just common sense. But what is a true definition of common sense?
I don't know.
Can you look it up on dictionary.com?
Do you want to know the actual definition of common sense?
Yeah, that's a good point. What is the definition of common sense? I don't know. Does it have a...
Of course it does, because it goes to the dictionary.
So is it common sense? Can you look up two words like that? Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Common sense, sound judgment not based on specialized knowledge. Not based on, where did it go? Sound judgment not based on specialized knowledge. Native good judgment. Plain, ordinary, good judgment. Sound, practical sense. Sound, practical judgment, independent of specialized knowledge or training. Normal, native intelligence. Well, you know what? A lot of people don't have that. I'm sorry.
That's so true.
They don't have good judgment. If people had good judgment, a lot of things wouldn't happen.
It's like the gentleman caller said, a lot of older people have that, but a lot of younger, don't. They just don't.
Brains aren't developed.
That's by nature. That's by nature. I didn't have a lot of common sense when I was young. But now that I'm old and wise, I have a lot of common sense.
Do you now?
I do.
Do you now?
If I could just run everything, this would be a lot better place.
A little disturbing.
We'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call. You've heard about Certiset, right? You have heard about Certiset because I've been telling you about Certiset. It is a solid set system for irrigation that allows you to water almost till blooming in your alfalfa fields, because you don't have to send labor in then to get that pipe out of there in order to go in and swath the hay. There is an attachment that goes on the swather that does that. and no more spraying borders around the fields. It's quite an innovation in technology, and they know all about it at Far More of Idaho. So go in and ask them about Certicet, because I know with the irrigation season off right now, we'll be starting up here again in another 2.5 months, believe it or not. It's not that far away. You might be considering an upgrade in your irrigation system. Consider the Certicet from Far More of Idaho. You can ask them about it. Give them a call at 324-3341 or at farmoreofidaho.com.
Well, we heard on the news just before, I guess it was the last break, about another Benghazi committee. But this report came out, this news story came out. I don't know if they dumped it the Friday, Black Friday, or after Thanksgiving or the Friday before Thanksgiving. I know it came out a few weeks ago, and we've been trying to talk about it, but we always run out of time or get distracted. And that's what news or committees do. They dump things on Friday. They call it the Friday afternoon dump, where people are occupied doing something else and no one picks up the story.
And they'll forget about it by Monday.
Now, this has been a couple weeks, so this is what came out. It said yet another detailed investigation into the September 11th, 2012 attacks on the U.S. mission in Benghazi, Libya, has refuted claims. Did you hear that? Refuted claims that there was a cover-up or that officials didn't do all they could at the time to save the 4 Americans killed that night. The latest findings, released Friday, came from the declassified 2-year investigation of the House Intelligence Committee, which was Republican-led, which conducted an exhaustive probe into the incident, including claims that the White House cooked up phony talking points for then UN Ambassador Susan Rice. The report did find that the State Department was unable to protect the facility in eastern Libya, where Ambassador Stevens and 3 others were killed, but also contradicts many of the charges leveled at the Obama administration in the days and years following the attacks. Among its findings, the report says CIA personnel responded not just well, but heroically, that there was no stand-down order, as some critics have claimed, there was no intimidation of witnesses by superiors, there was no intelligence failure prior to the attack, and that a mixed group of individuals, including some linked to Al-Qaeda, participated in the attack. But perhaps the most significant conclusion is its findings that Rice's talking points, a key focus of the Benghazi Select Committee impaneled by House Speaker John Boehner, were not part of an attempt to conceal the severity of the incident. According to the report, early intelligence that the attacks were sparked by an internet video was not accurate, but not intentionally so. And the report holds that the process that produced Rice's now infamous talking points was flawed, resulting in errors rather than deliberate lies. Indeed, the report determined that the CIA had not sorted out the conflicting intelligence until 2 days after Rice appeared on television, claiming the attack stemmed from a protest. In a joint statement accompanying the release of the report, Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Rogers, a Republican, and the committee's top Democrat, Representative Dutch Ruppersberger, said its probe was extensive. So over 2 years, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence exhaustively investigated the September 11, 2012 terrorist attacks in Benghazi, Libya. So they're hoping that this will now close the door on conspiracy theories and end it once and for all, although we just heard there's going to be one more committee now.
Well, apparently then, what this committee has done has proven, and it says so right here, the report did find that the State Department was unable to protect a facility in eastern Libya, where Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 others were killed. So this shows, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the Obama administration was incapable of handling this situation. So the Obama administration wasn't able to do this.
But there was no conspiracy. There was nothing.
Right. So we have an administration that is incapable of handling situations like this. That's what we got. The report says so right here.
But you know
and they're not even smart enough to come up with any talking points to steer it in the other direction.
The talking points came from CIA.
Incapableness of this administration or what? It says so right here.
Are you kidding me? So when other embassies have been attacked, and Ronald Reagan had one in Libya that over 200 people were killed, no one's sitting there screaming they couldn't protect them. Yes, there were problems. Yes, they fixed them. But for all these things that were brought up in our talking points constantly, there was a stand-down order. There was intimidation of witnesses. That all that stuff is not true. This was a Republican-led committee, And so there you go, people. There you go. But no, it'll still rear its ugly heads, and people will still throw that word around.
Well, we still have people who are actually involved in that attack coming out and say, "Wait a minute, they didn't talk to us, and they told us to keep our mouths
They
shut."
have investigated this.
Well,
they did how many documents? How many thousands of documents?
If you want to let it go, that's fine. But
okay. We would hate to have the facts.
Administration is incapable.
We would hate to have
of
the
handling
facts.
anything, including this, and this report proves it right here.
And other presidents, they're fine. They're capable. Give me a break.
We're
Things
talking
happen.
to Johnny Yu next here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We've got to adjust our schedule just a little bit here. We were going to have Johnny Yu next, but we're going to have Johnny Yu now at around 9:30. We got Rebecca Mills-Soyka coming up with the State of the City at 9 o'clock. And right now we have Tony McCammon with the University of Idaho and the Twin Falls County Extension Service. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Actually, it's interesting that we have you in now because we're going to talk about Christmas trees.
Yes, this is a great time to have a Christmas tree in your house.
It is, yeah, because if you have a Christmas tree in your house any other time of the year, people look at you a little funny.
well, I had mine up, the day after Halloween. So
no, sir,
and
you're one of those.
I am one of those. Yes, I love Christmas. It's the best time of the year.
Wow.
So
do you have a real one?
Do your neighbors look at you funny when you put up a Christmas tree day after Halloween?
Oh yeah, definitely. We had Christmas lights up as well. So, but I picked the warmest day of the fall and got out and did it. And so
there you go.
I missed all the cold weather and yeah, it was.
So do you have a real one or a fake one?
I do have a fake one.
What? Are you serious?
I am serious.
What?
I know. I'm a horticulturalist with a fake Christmas tree.
You're kidding me.
And it's just because we can get it up so early. We start listening to Christmas music in September. And it's just that's how my family does it.
So see, Nate on our sister station, Cool 96.5, he didn't start Christmas music until
November 10th.
Yeah, I'm on November 10th. Before
so you're beating out November.
And he has to wear a bulletproof vest when he goes out in public right now.
I know. People get quite annoyed with him. Okay, so you have some tips though for people who want a real Christmas tree and how to make them last longer, because I guess it's a problem.
Yes, even though I have a fake Christmas tree, I still like the smell of the pine, and so I bring in a lot of wreaths. I make wreaths and bring them into my house. So I still use a lot of fresh greens in my house. This time of year.
So how long does it dry out? I mean, how long does it take for things like that? Do your wreaths dry out? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, my wreaths will dry out in about 2 weeks, and so I'm constantly making new wreaths.
Stop. You are?
Yes, I am.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they're not like a Christmas tree that you can set in a little thing of water.
Yeah, they're just a display of greens, and so there isn't any reservoir in the plant to keep the moisture up. So it's just how dry is the inside of your house, how warm is the inside of your house. These type of things will definitely predict how quickly your evergreens are going to start losing those needles.
So let's start with the evergreens. Is there a way to extend their life?
Yeah, so there's been a little bit of research out there, and interestingly enough, the master gardeners actually in Washington State, they put together a research project to actually see which evergreens would hold up the longest, and some of the wives' tales of house remedies. A lot of people will add 7-Up or Sprite or some sugar or lots of different things. They'll add it as a preservative in the water.
Does it work?
That's the question they wanted to find out. And so they did this research, and let's back up a little bit. So when you first buy a Christmas tree, that's really the important time is when you're choosing the Christmas tree you're gonna bring into your home. Bat them on the ground a little bit. If you see a bunch of needles fall off, they're already dry. Yeah. And no amount of water that you give them is going to bring them back to life.
Oh, at that point, once it's dry, they're done.
At that point, if it's already losing needles, then yeah, you wanna check your trees to make sure they're not already losing needles. They still have some good color to them.
So is the color a first indication, or is it just the needles?
The needle drop is
the
first
indication. So it's needle drop.
Yeah.
Check needle drop. Okay.
Yeah. So check that first, and then make sure they cut off about 1/4 of an inch off the bottom, and then as soon as you can, get that into water.
Now the cutting it off on the bottom is because when they cut that off, the sap kind of makes a seal, doesn't it?
It makes a seal. It actually starts to suck up more water. You basically cut off that dead tissue that has already sealed over, and it's not sucking up water anymore.
Right.
When you make that fresh cut, it then will, for a period of time, start to try to siphon more water up into the tree.
Okay.
And so you cut that off, you get that in water as soon as possible, get it home and in water as soon as possible, and it'll start,
How long should a
hydrating
tree
itself.
last?
How long should a tree last? A tree should easily last 3 to 4 weeks.
So if someone
in
buys
water.
it now,
Oh yeah,
they're safe.
oh yeah, definitely.
When do you think people?
Well, it depends on when it was first cut, doesn't it?
That does. It is important to know when it was first cut. It's hard to, they're not going to tell you exactly when they were cut, but a lot of them, 36 million Christmas trees are sold every year, and a third of those are sold from tree nurseries in the Northwest.
Wow.
And so we have a great opportunity, a great industry within, right here within the Northwest, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Northern California. That's where a third of all the Christmas trees in the United States are raised. That's a great foresting. That's adding to the forestry department, the evapotranspiration and the air all the benefits that comes with trees in the Northwest. It's a great industry to support, and I wholeheartedly support it, even though I have a fake Christmas tree.
I know. Whatever. Don't look at anything
Well, you make
here.
up for it in wreaths, right?
That's right. I definitely make up for it in wreaths.
Oh my goodness. So when do you think how long do people wait to buy a Christmas tree? Do you think like the week before? Like what are the statistics on that? Are they like you, November 1st?
A lot of people, no, they're definitely not November 1st. But the first or second week of December, that's when you see a big spike. And then they start waiting. And then the rest of the people start waiting for deals the last couple weeks before Christmas.
And then you get a Charlie Brown Christmas tree for
$5. Okay, so let's go back to purchasing trees. There are some trees that hold onto their needles a lot longer. In fact, the Fraser firs are one of the best Christmas trees for not losing needles at all, no matter what you do to the water. It's just don't lose their needles.
Whether you put Sprite in it or not. Huh?
Whether you put Sprite in it or not, it just will not lose their needles. And then the Douglas firs are another common one. The noble firs are another common one. The alpine firs are another common one.
Do they advertise which kind of trees they have?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So what was the first one?
The Fraser fir. Yeah.
What does that look like?
It's they're shorter needles, and they're a bit more, they're more upright, and they have a little bit of tint, almost a bicolor, a lighter tint on the underside of the needle. So it gives you kind of a different shimmer as the tree is in your.
Are they specifically bred for Christmas trees?
Yeah, well,
Kind of, sort of.
They're all. They're all natural trees,
right?
And we've selected out certain varieties that stay more compact, and have a better shape that we then we propagate and grow in.
So
lines.
Fraser is a natural tree. It's not one that has been created, so to speak,
genetically modified, the perfect one that comes out with bulbs.
It's been selected. It's been selected over time that they found different characteristics in these trees over time, and they've selected out those characteristics to create a really good Christmas tree.
So is there anything you can put in the water that helps preserve them longer, or is that just kind of a wives' tale type?
Cocoa, because Santa likes cocoa.
This is where it kind of gets fun, because the master gardeners, I don't know where they got their data to do this research, because I've heard of the 7-Up thing, I've heard of the Sprite thing, I've heard of dropping pennies in it. In the water
I've never heard of any.
That's just
of
for a tip for the guy,
copper,
for your husband to put up the tree.
Yeah, I've heard about some of these other things, but they went above and beyond the Call of Duty in this research, because they used Viagra, and they used.
It only stays up for 4 hours though.
They used.
But boy, that 4 hours.
And
is
your
really
tree
something.
goes blind.
They used a lot of different selections of different concoctions that I don't know where they came up with them, but
Oh, did you come up with something you can help these people?
no.
What?
No.
After all this, you didn't come up with anything?
Let me tell you, the best part of the research is just plain old lukewarm water.
Huh.
And you want to put it on, per inch caliper of the trunk, you're going to put on a quart of water. So for a 4-inch caliper trunk and that's pretty average for most of the Christmas trees, you're talking a gallon of water a day.
So it has to be daily.
It is daily. Yeah, they'll drink quite a bit of water. And if they stop drinking, that means they've sealed up.
Oh,
so do you have to cut it again? Well, you can't cut it again if you got it all decorated.
Can you kind of cut it at an angle or something to kind of give it a little more surface?
That's another thing that a lot of people have looked at, because a lot of people will wedge them.
Yeah.
And be thinking that there's more cambium space to suck up more water, and that's not the case. It actually seals over a lot quicker and causes them to dry out a lot faster.
But those little tree things that they stand in, I mean, okay, I'm Jewish. I don't have a tree, so I'm talking I don't even know what I'm talking about. But you have
as usual.
I know. As you have those little, they stick. Can that hold a gallon of water, or do you have to just keep putting in through the day? It doesn't look like those things can hold a gallon, can it?
I think most of them, some of them have bigger reservoirs that hold a gallon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll hold a gallon of water. And then you just keep it topped off. Make sure it's topped off.
So you just have to
day.
check through the day. Okay.
Yeah. The problem with the sugars, the 7-Up, the Sprites, or just adding a teaspoon of sugar to your water is, sugar breeds fungus.
Right.
And so you end up with this milky reservoir, and you can't see it, and so that causes the tree to clog up as well. Just lukewarm water, plain old lukewarm water. Another thing that you could do, a lot of people like to go up into the mountains. We live close enough to the mountains; they can go up and cut their own trees. They get a permit from the Forest Service or the BLM, and they go up and they cut their own trees. That's like the Griswolds, exactly. And so
what went wrong there?
That's a great opportunity to get a fresh tree, get it in water as soon as possible. Those will last a long time. When you're looking for those trees, if you are planning on going up, we have a great, Saturday it looks a little rainy, but the next 3 days it looks pretty fair weather for going up in the mountains. Go up and look for a tree that's a little bit more shady, meaning it's in the shade a little bit more of the day.
Oh, okay.
Those trees will hold on to their needles a lot longer. They're not going through evapotranspiration every day like some of the other trees.
So how long after Christmas, what should you do with these trees? Like, do you recycle them? Is there something to do? Like, is there something people should... Where do you dispose of these things? You don't just throw them in your bin, do you?
A lot of people do. Yeah, they'll just put it out by their Christmas tree. You can do that. That's okay.
Is there any way to recycle?
Recycle.
Well, I mean, chop it up in a wood chopper or do something.
Sure. Twin Falls has had a tree recycling program. I don't know if they still do or not.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
We'll have to ask Rebecca.
Yes.
We'll ask Rebecca on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But out in the country, you just take it out in the backyard and light it on fire.
That's it.
It just whoosh.
It's a great demonstration for your kids.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of fun, too. You got to have quick cooking hot dogs, though, in order to take advantage.
Marshmallows. Kids, there goes the Christmas tree.
So we're just about out of time, but tell us quickly about the Master Gardener program.
Oh, please. Thank you. The Master Gardener program is a volunteer-based program. It runs 13 weeks starting in January. It's open for registration right now. So, give me a call at Twin Falls County Extension Office.
What's the number?
734-9590. You can also look us up on our website. It's www.hortmagic.org, and that stands for Magic Valley Horticulture. We are also on Facebook.
And where are you guys located?
We're located at the old hospital, which is now County West.
So is that where they do the classes?
That's where we will do the classes. We also have classes offered in Shoshone as well as in Rupert.
Wow, that's great.
Now, it's my understanding, once you graduate from this class and get your certificate, you can grow anything that'll grow.
It's interesting.
And do it well.
It's interesting. People talk about having a green thumb.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a green thumb to take this class. That's what we actually teach. We teach you how to grow things and how to do it the right way. And there's lots of just little tidbits that you come out of there and you're just like, man, I can do this now.
Yeah. So
And
those who
I should
graduate
take it
then,
because
it's like in
bad.
Afghanistan when they voted, they had the purple finger. When
Yeah.
you graduate from this, you have a green thumb, right?
That's right. That's
I would hope so
Sounds
because
good.
I do not have a green thumb. But Tony, thank you so much, and
been
keep
very
making
interesting,
wreaths.
yeah.
Do you learn how to make a wreath in that class?
We're doing that for our banquet this year. So all the master gardeners are learning how to do wreaths.
Oh,
Wow.
very cool.
We
So
do a
there
little
you-
bit of floriculture in the class as well.
Nice.
Tony McCammon, Twin Falls County Extension Office. Thank you, sir. It was fun.
Thank you. Hey,
Thank
one
you.
quick question: are poinsettias poisonous to dogs or cats?
That is a common myth dated back to 1919. They are not.
Yes or no? No. Okay.
Oh, okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, how do you like that? I'm going to have to look at some other reason that the cat
Mythbusters
died
by
then.
Tony.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back with Rebecca Mills-Soika with State of the City in the next hour. And welcome back to Top Story, 7360300. Always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly.
We got an update
We
on the
did.
city tree recycling program from Josh Palmer.
I guess Josh listens to our show. Hi, Josh. Thank you for the information. What he texted me, he said the city will provide free recycling again. Provide tree recycling again this year. It generally starts after January 3rd. It will be next to the Parks and Rec building on Maxwell Avenue. Oh, it is free. Last year, many of the trees were used as fish habitat in lakes. So it is
yeah,
recycled in ways. So anyway, yes. So hang on to your Christmas tree. You can recycle it next to Parks and Recs. It's free, and it can help the fish.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Isn't
always
that
good
nice?
to recycle stuff.
Of course.
You know, I'm a big recycling fan, although I don't do it much.
I know.
I would rather take my Christmas tree out back, light it on fire, and watch it go poof. You know?
And roast marshmallows.
Yeah, and roast marshmallows. Quick cooking marshmallows, because it doesn't last very long.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, we have with us this morning Twin Falls City Council person Rebecca Mills-Soika for State of the City. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jill and Kelly.
Nice to have you here. Let's talk about some of the stuff going on in the city. One of the things I guess has been brought up lately are impact fees. Is there a change there?
Sure. Monday night, there is an annual adjustment for inflation on the impact fees because we collect those from development projects, from building projects for the needed improvements in infrastructure that growth causes. You know, you need a traffic light here and there. You need another park. And also for police and fire. Those are the 4 areas that we collect for. But you collect over a period of, I think it's 10 years, 5 to 10 years. And so every year they adjust for inflation because if you went to build your park or build your road, 10 years down the road, you would be quite short, probably 10% or more if you didn't adjust for inflation because it's about 2% a year, 2% or less. So there's an automatic increase that just adjusts for what's called the municipal cost index, and it's basically the CPI for cities. It's kind of a gauge on how much products that cities use go up, like oil to make the roads and things like that, fuel. So they actually the council passed a resolution to forego that increase.
Okay.
And
this
so,
year.
did they say why? Is it just for this year? Because usually when you forgo that one year, it's really hard to sit there and go, now we're going to increase it the next year. Do you know what I mean? Because then people are like, you're raising our fees. Like, do you think you voted against this, right? Was the
True.
vote 6-1?
The vote was 6-1. I voted against it just because I really think that it's easier for any applicant, whether it's a taxpayer or whether it's a developer, to take that 1% or 2% increase annually instead of waiting 4 or 5 years and then having to try to catch up to how far you are behind on the cost of the project. So, the thought from the council was that the impact fees were just adjusted and that caused an increase in fees. And so they wanted to be sensitive to that increase that happened in October. So they take years. It is annual. So to answer your question, Jill, it is annual, and it automatically happens.
Oh, okay. So the
annually.
council would have to vote not to do it.
Right. So what the council has to do is they have to pass a resolution to waive the automatic increase.
Okay.
So that was just for this year, not ongoing.
Right. No.
Okay.
And so it comes up every year, and there have been a couple of years that they've waived it, and then a couple of years that they've let it set in automatically.
So if you take no action, it'll automatically go into effect.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we just had a big parking study done in downtown Twin Falls. Did we learn anything new?
Actually, we haven't yet learned anything new. The results are preliminary. OTAC was just sharing the preliminary data that they had collected, but interestingly enough, it was almost identical to past studies. I think in 2008, CSI did kind of like we've done some internal traffic counts and kind of some observation of lot use, and really it was identical to what we've done internally, which is just showing us that things really are the same, since
Like 6 years later,
since
later.
2008.
So they say there's what, 50%? What was the actual results?
Yeah, so 50% or less in all lots. The private lots were probably the highest at 50%. The public lots were less. I think they were somewhere around 45, and then lease lots were around 42%. And so one thing that they were talking about is what we can do to reorganize the structure of the parking. And they talked about some of the needs that they've heard from merchants and community members, is because that's who they've been meeting with to find out, okay, what are your concerns about parking? And of course, they found that the one parking lot that is very full, they said that they would consider that 86% usage full, is the parking lot by Rudy's, behind Rudy's. And,
Oh, yeah.
That is what the city calls the orange lot. I'm sure no one else calls it
No,
that.
I've never heard of it. If the wonder does this, they didn't know probably the city had a lot anyway.
Yeah, it's the one behind Rudy's. It's a popular lot, and I think it's because all of the other lots are kind of to the east of that lot, and so I think that it's the furthest west.
It's the
parking
first one
lot.
everybody runs into on that one-way street.
Exactly, and if you
Yeah.
turn right on Second, when you're coming from like the City Park or Shoshone Street, exactly, that's the lot you run into. But the good news is that they were just sharing some data. They're actually their full report is going to come up with some solutions for how to reorganize the parking lot, because just because it's not being used doesn't mean it's not needed. Something that
Right.
might deter people are the tickets that they get, the lack of clarity about the time limits, which parking lot can I use, which spot can I use, because each parking lot is split up between lease spaces, private spaces, and then, here's a row of public 2-hour spaces or 3-hour spaces, and it's confusing for people. And so I think sometimes they just try to stay away from it instead of
So when they
try to wade through it.
did the study, did they do it certain times of day, or was it all day? Because, like you said, some spaces are only 2 hours. And so people have to constantly move their car, which I've heard that people have done business, maybe they're having a seminar, they have to run out and move their car.
Right,
after
and
a couple
that's an
hours.
unfortunate side effect, and it is, and one that we need to recognize and say, okay, that's not really the answer. What can we do to bring a better solution? And I think that that's what OTAC is working on with their the actual subcontractor on the parking study was a group called Kittleson Group, who is doing the parking study. But yeah, they have graphs of the time of day, so they did it for I think 24 hours, I think, all through the night. And you can find that on our agenda online at www.tfid.org, and then you just on the left-hand side, there's agendas and meetings. Click on that, and then go to the date, which was Monday's council meeting. And you can see those graphs of, the peak hours. Of course, the peak hours on Main Street are about noon when people are going to lunch. And, so that's an indication that there are some good restaurants down there that people are frequenting. And so they kind of outlined, that there weren't a lot of pedestrians. And so one thing they're going to focus on is how to improve and make more attractive the pedestrian walkways, for cyclists, for, people who want to take other modes of transportation other than vehicles.
That's interesting. I know one of the, as you say that reminds me of the renovation of the downtown Twin Falls area back in the late 60s when we did that. The original plan was on Main Street, all that would be turned into a mall, and there would be no traffic on there. And I think one of the things that they were shooting for when they were going to try that was to get more pedestrian traffic in there that wouldn't have to worry about cars. Over time, though, they decided not to do that, and so we can still drive up and down that area. So that just got me to thinking, is it Is it in the renovation of the downtown now this time that's coming up? Is that something that's being considered? Is essentially doing away with Main Street? Or has that been talked about?
No, that's a great question. And that actually was brought up on Monday night. And what Mandy, I think her name is Mandy Roberts, what she had to say was that there wasn't the majority of people pushing for a completely pedestrian Main Street. But what they were thinking about doing is something called festival streets. And so they are streets that are more designed for pedestrian use. They look like a pedestrian should be there. So it's more like pavers and bollards. And what they do is they can close off, kind of like what they do right now. I mean, every
Twin
weekend.
Falls tonight.
Yeah, every weekend, in the summer or Wednesday. or whatever day it is. And when we have parades and things, they have to bring out the orange cones and block off the road anyway. Well, there would just be these, bollards or something that some raise up from the ground, but some they just kind of put out and put a chain on it to kind of block the traffic. But she said there's not a real push. So I guess that hasn't changed either because,
people
I think
really
some
don't want to
people-
sit there, walk up and down Main Street then, huh?
And some people do. And some people, actually, some of the merchants are concerned about the lack of vehicle traffic if they close it off completely to pedestrians.
People like
or
to park
close
on
it off
Main
to
Street.
vehicles.
I mean, when I go down there, I don't think of parking behind.
I don't
mean,
either.
I
was
park
just
on
down
Main
there
Street.
on Monday, and I parked on Main Street.
Yeah.
I had to
Exactly.
walk a block and a half, but that was okay too because I need the exercise. But not everybody is able to do that. 'cause
Right,
our
I know.
handicapped
Exactly.
people-
And one thing you have to consider is the elderly and disabled.
Right.
And it does make it more difficult for them, those back parking lots and the walkway. So a couple of problems that they identified is lack of lighting. I mean, some people don't park in the back because if it's dark,
Right.
Yeah.
then
good
those
point.
And you have to walk
little
through an
alleyways
alley.
can be a little
Yeah.
suspicious. They can be a little scary.
Yeah.
And also they talked about recommendations that they will make for merchants to be able to use, just as something that, hey, you can use this if you want to, in improving the back signage on their buildings to make it more inviting and more attractive to people, so that when you think of going to a store, you drive around to the front because that's what we do. We enter through the front of a store.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so they're thinking about giving them some recommendations so that they can make the back side of their store just as attractive and inviting.
Sure. Top story. You're on the air with Rebecca Mills-Soika.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. I just kind of got in on barely part of the conversation, but I've been thinking about this for a while, of just spending the money to kind of brighten up downtown. I'm 70 years old, and I walk downtown a lot, going to the different stores, and I enjoy it. I'm fortunate that I'm able to do that. But lack of another word, I think it is ludicrous to spend that kind of money when we have so many other things going on. One, homeless people. I've thought for a long time we need adequate shelter for homeless people. We need things going on, just like the two little children that died in that mobile home park. That mobile home park, I actually drove through it here a while back out of curiosity. It's bad. And I think that our city could definitely use that money for much
Better purposes.
For people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Okay, thank
we'll let
you. Well, yeah.
Can you hang around? We'll let Rebecca
Sure,
comment on that when we come back here on Top Story. The number is 736-0300. 736-0300 was the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. We've got Twin Falls City Council person Rebecca Mills-Soika, but before we get back to her, want to say that yesterday's $100 instant winning name in the word of the day, which is brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant.
Which you love.
I love that. I'm
You
going out there
love.
tomorrow, and if you haven't gone out there yet and gotten your piece of pie, if you're a first-time visitor and you tell them you heard about it here with Kelly and Jill, and you buy a meal or a drink, they'll give you a free piece of homemade pie.
Hi.
Not just store-bought pie. This is homemade pie.
Okay.
All right. So there you go.
There you go.
Yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Cheryl David.
Cheryl David, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is a reindeer.
A reindeer.
Reindeer. Rebecca's writing it down.
I know,
She's
she's
going to
been
go
playing
home
I
it.
and
do.
put
I
that
play the
as-
word of the day. Come on, guys.
Reindeer, reindeer.
That's
I
right.
even spelled it right.
All right, cool. So go to our website, newsradio1310.com, click on Word of the Day, type in reindeer, Reindeer, and listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the Word of the Day today, you win $100.
That's how easy that is.
Indeed. Okay, so Rebecca, we had the caller. Some of that money maybe should be spent on homeless shelter rather than on sprucing up downtown Twin Falls. How do you answer that?
Well, first, I would just say thank you for sharing your priorities, and that's really great to hear. Some people think that it's a great project, and some people think there are better things to do with the money. But I would also offer some more information. The dollars, the $17 million that are going to be spent on downtown are restricted monies. They can't be spent on anything other than in that URA district. So there's what's called a tax increment finance district. So that's where the money was collected. So where you collect the money is where you have to spend the money. And you can only spend it, there are restrictions on what you can spend it on. It has to be public infrastructure. And so it's going to be things like water lines, sewer lines, streets.
So
Those
a
are
homeless
the kind
shelter
of things.
would not be considered public.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's still good to hear people's priorities, because if we do start spending some general tax dollars from the city, that would be a good time to speak up and say, well, I really would rather you focus on,
Well,
this issue
is
in
the city
community.
looking at this? Because, we had a presentation from Valley House at Rotary. I mean, they are just, and we had her on the show too.
Right.
Such a
Sharon
need.
Bashir's,
And, where to put these people? Is it something that the city is looking at? Because the problem isn't going away, it's just increasing.
Yeah, I certainly agree with the need. We actually had a proposal maybe a year or more ago. It's the private sector, it's the social services that usually provide that, usually nonprofits in a lot of cities.
I'm surprised that some of the churches don't step forward and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, look, we'll take care of this."
They can only do so much,
But
though.
right, and what happened a couple years ago, I mean, the real problem was that they actually had a proposal for a kind of a rehab homeless shelter, kind of a temporary housing situation. But all of the neighbors, you try to put it in a neighborhood, and nobody wants that in their neighborhood. But you say, that they're in our city anyway. You might as well provide them with resources and ways to get clean and ways to improve their life, and food and shelter.
Yeah.
But
As
some
a Christian society, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. That is exactly what we should be doing. And, honestly, the Victory House does a great job. It's probably the closest thing that we have. They'll take in so many different people that the Valley House can't take in.
Yeah.
If you have criminal record or certain things, certain statuses, you can't go into that Valley House setting. And so Victory Home does an amazing job of helping out our community. And they were the ones that wanted to open up a bigger shelter, because they said there's a need and we want to meet this need. Unfortunately, that zoning proposal failed, at the council level. And it's unfortunate because
They didn't think there was a need?
It. Well, they only addressed, the council was concerned with the neighbors' concerns of safety and just not wanting it in their area.
So basically, just having them be homeless in this park and in Rock Creek Canyon, that's okay. I mean, it's really sad.
Exactly, and I was in favor, of providing a homeless shelter, just because you do have to look at the community's needs, and you want people to be safe. But some fears are real, and some fears are just imagined, I mean, and you want them to feel safe, and you want to respect their input. But at the same time, we've got to have this shelter. We've got to have this service somewhere in our community.
Right.
So it's going to be in somebody's backyard. So
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
So I know they're still looking. I know Victory Home is still looking for a location, and hopefully they'll find that.
But there are resources that the homeless can go to get help if they just do it.
But there's not enough, though, for them.
Absolutely, and
I mean, that's the problem.
There isn't enough beds. There isn't enough places to stay. But there are resources, and so certainly places like South Central Community Action can help. And if you come to this city, they will point you to the right resource.
Twin Falls City Council person Rebecca Mills-Soyka on State of the City. Thank you very much, Rebecca. See you soon.
Thanks, Becca.
Thank you.
We're going to have Johnny Uratia on next. He goes by Johnny U with his Idaho horse therapy and his reboot camp for veterans coming up next. 7360300 is the number to call this morning here on Top Story. And I was going to tell you about the Low and Honey Loader. And all I have to do is get this sheet in front of me, although I could probably talk about it without the sheet because I've talked about it so much. But it is a Low and Honey Loader from Stanley & Company, and Pat Hartzell is the guy. So if you think you've heard us talking about the Low and Honey Loader, handles all types of manure, liquid, frozen, dry, for feedlot or dairy operations. This isn't for everybody, but it might be for you. And if it is and you want to see one, get a hold of Pat Hartzell. He can make it happen. His number is 280-1167. That is 280-1167. We have Johnny U with us on here this morning. Good morning, Johnny.
Morning, Johnny.
Hi, how's everybody?
Great.
We just never felt better and had less.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
That's right. Well, Johnny, you have the Idaho Horse Therapy, the equine-assisted psychotherapy, and you, I guess you call that the Idaho Reboot Camp, which is the trademark for Idaho Horse Therapy, and you help a lot of veterans.
Yeah, actually, Idaho Horse Therapy, we started as a 501c3 nonprofit about 8 years ago, and started the program working with the kids at risk. And then it grew, and we started doing some work with individual veterans, diagnosed PTSD, and then we were asked to take our program back to New Hampshire for a pilot program for the VA, which featured different modalities, and it became very successful. They now have that about every other month back in New Hampshire and New York. So we started one here so it would be more accessible for the veterans, on the western part of the U.S., right. And that's what became Idaho Reboot Camp, and our trademark is Reboot Camp. So we can take it anywhere, but that's just to get everything in order. Idaho Horse Therapy came first, and then the Reboot Camp became particular specific to veterans with PTSD.
Wow. So you help veterans not just from Idaho then, but from all over.
Yeah, that's right. It's open, and our mission statement is to help all veterans, especially those with PTSD, at no cost to them. And so there is where our challenge lies, of course, but I think it's important that they've already paid their price. They don't need to pay it again.
Right.
So that's our focus.
So, Johnny, what kind of program, how do you help these veterans?
Well, we have sponsors, and our first one was a huge sponsor, which was Glambia. And we had some smaller sponsors. Rob Green helped out with it. Clinton Anderson helped out with it with the horse show, Clinton Anderson Horse Show.
Mm-hmm.
It's very costly. It's between $40,000 and $50,000 to set up a camp for a 6-day intensive, and the reason it's that valuable that we bring therapists from the best of the United States here. Dr. A.J. Popke is an EMDR specialist developer of EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a modality that they're finding is very very effectual for veterans with PTSD. Yoga and/or Tai Chi, a meditation of either one of those is a modality used. CRM, which is a community resiliency model, which is understand I'm a horse guy, not a psychologist, right? So yeah. I'm really talking out of school, but I've learned by osmosis about these modalities that they use and put together are integrated with equine-assisted psychotherapy, which I do understand. And as I work with these people, I'm learning the science why it does work. It gets into a spot, I guess, on layman's terms, to a person's brain that actually is like it needs rewired, and by the use of the integration of all four of these modalities, by the end of the 6 or 7 day intensive camp, these guys are able to focus again, socialize again, be rid of their nightmares, handle anxieties and depression without relying upon, heavily medication, which until then, that was their only answer.
So, why horses? Why not? Would it work with dogs?
It's a good question. I get that question all the time. And first of all, I have to go back to the basics. Where dogs are a predator, kind of like you and I. Not you and I specifically.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, he's a dog, all right, Johnny.
I can just hear the audience agreeing with some of the people knowing. But and where horses are prey animals, so they function differently, and the horses function in a way in their natural instinct to survive. So when a predator-like being, in this case humans, interact with them, they have an objective view on in this case people. Where dogs don't, they act much differently. You can do things that dogs can't do to the horses. Anyway, and also the science people tell us that horses have the largest limbic system. That's the part of the brain that I guess is.
Johnny, I'm gonna have you hang tight. We're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Okay. What a great. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story, talking to Johnny Yu with Idaho Horse Therapy, the Idaho Reboot Camp. Okay, so Johnny, without going into a bunch of science, we've determined that horses work better for this than dogs, right?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, it's because the limbic system recognizes and is aware of what we're doing better than any other animal can. So they react accordingly. And that's why horses are so effectual. Also, they actually do trigger different parts of the brain they know now through brain scans by interacting with them. And that part of the brain sometimes misfiring with people with PTSD. It helps the brain to fire correctly in an orderly manner.
So how does someone know that this is going to be the program for them? Is this something that they are sent to you or recommended to you from a psychologist or the VA or somebody? Or can somebody just say, I've got problems, I think this would help?
Yeah, well, it's easiest at this point. We made it, again, specific for PTSD veterans, first of all, male or female, with PTSD or suspect. What happens so often is that veterans, first of all, a lot of them don't want to be diagnosed with PTSD because of what the that may be the appearance from the outside, but they often will be diagnosed with depression and bipolar, which seems to be the popular diagnosis, I guess. I'm not really sure about that, but anyway, they know, and usually if they've had combat, it's almost hard for them to live without some types of PTSD. And PTSD can be evident in people that have car wrecks, rape victims.
Right.
It's not, again, it's not particularly always all about military. So.
Yeah.
So Johnny, how long is your program?
Well, it's a 6.5 day program, and our goal is to have 10 to 20 a year. We kicked off the first one with a large sponsor. We're working on different foundations, to sponsor, because right now it's the VA. You asked if the VA does referrals. They really don't do direct referrals, but we do work with a lot of the people that are VA admitted. So, and along with that, the funding's not there through the VA. That's another whole show. But
yeah.
So we do have to reach out, and all of ours is my contribution, and we're working on some national organizations that are actually are looking toward a program, because what's happened, and I think the intent of the Wounded Warrior program is very good. The problem is that some of their services don't really aim at you know, a service that will cure these guys or give them skills to better themselves other than just recreation. And so now there's an organization called NTW, and it's the National Trust for the Wounded. That's what it's called. But It's called ntw.org.com. But what their goal is they raise millions of dollars, and then they find organizations like ourselves, and then we would do this service. So I said all that to say this, is that as we get the funds, we will have those immediately go directly to this service. We're pretty adamant about not using a large amount of funds that are executive fees, because that's highly criticized. First of all, personally, I think it's unethical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, when you have people come to these, where do they come from? Are they coming there on their own volition, or are they referred by somebody?
Both.
Okay.
We did get some referrals. Some came by therapists. I think what you're going to see now, after we've had the first one up here in the Northwest, is that therapists saw it and thought, "Oh my gosh, this is a good deal." So I'm getting a lot of feedback now that say, "Man, let us know when the next one is, because I have a group of clients that need to go." You know,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are kind of in the shadows. Speaking about the veterans, you know that, and also the first one up here. The veterans are kind of suspicious, like, what is this, you know?
Sure.
Is it more of the same? Well, now we've got, I guess I call them our disciples. The first ones that went through are out and doing very well, by the way. Also, the ones back east after a year more are doing exceptional well. So it's getting out where veterans can talk to veterans, and they have somebody they can call and say, "Tell us about it," and they can say, "Look, this is a great deal. It's a week of really rest and relaxation, but it's intensive in a way that the treatment gets to where they need it to be, and it's everybody leaves there knowing they had a great time and feels more confident. And well, if they go to our website, they can see some of the testimonials. It's IdahoRebootCamp.com.
Is there a number, Johnny, someone can call for more information too?
Yeah, they can always call my number. It's the 280-0576.
0576, okay.
280-0576. Anytime they can call me, or go to that website, and/or both, and look at that. And they're adding more and more on it as we speak to explain what the modalities are about and how they work. And so, again, our goal is to increase the camps that we have, try to do, like, say, 10, maybe 20.
Johnny, we're out of time, but I want to thank you, and we'll have you back.
Thanks, Johnny.
All right, thanks, Johnny.
Appreciate you guys.
All right,
thanks for everything you do.
We'll
Bye.
It's not too late to cut up your firewood. In fact, I would think if you don't have if you rely on a wood burning stove for your heat and stuff during the wintertime, I would say, several cords. You ought to have several cords ready to go. And if you don't, you might be behind. But there's a way to get caught up. That's with a new chainsaw from Clearwater Power Equipment. They have Husqvarna and Echo chainsaws, and they can help you out with that. They have sales, they have service. So if for some reason you would need a part or you would need a service on your chainsaw, you don't have to order it online and try to find some weirdo freakazoid in the other part of the world that doesn't know what you're talking about. So they just grab something, throw it in an envelope, takes 2 weeks to get here. When it gets here, it's the wrong part. You just take it down there to Clearwater Power Equipment. They fix it, and you're on the road doing your wood cutting the same day. 252 Washington Street there, where General Building Supply used to be. You can give them a call at 734-7767, and they can help you out. Clearwater Power Equipment. Nice place.
It is.
I can also talk about the Christmas Pet Photo Contest.
I wish Gracie would dress up, but she won't.
Well, poor Maybelle. I call her Maybelle. My wife says it's Mabel.
It is Mabel.
But I
Why do you call her Maybelle?
I don't know. I just got started calling her that, and that's just what I call her. But my wife dresses up poor Maybelle all the time. But, it could be beneficial because if you submit a photo of your pet and it's in their Christmas outfit, you could win Valley View Veterinary Clinic's Christmas Pet Costume Contest, a Xbox 360.
Wow.
Yeah, I know the kids will like that. And these things are, a few $100. So if you win that, you could give that to your kids or your grandkids as a present, and then you could save yourself $200 or $300 to go buy something for yourself. See? So if you have a pet, dress them up Christmassy. Go to our website, newsradio1310.com. Click on the Christmas Pet Photo Contest. You can upload the picture there. And who knows, you might win. You just never know.
Shocking.
I know.
I wish Gracie, she won't even, no, there's no way. Cats are different.
Maybelle, we have her in several different outfits, but I don't think she's eligible.
She's going to do a fashion show for us?
Yeah, she might have to. We might have to put one on Facebook sometime.
Do a little runway action with Maybelle?
My wife's got her laying down in a bikini and all.
Oh, my gosh.
Poor Mabel. It's no wonder when Connie calls her, she runs to me.
I don't, but she's like, please, Mommy. I don't get paid enough
please,
for
Daddy,
this.
don't let Mommy dress me up again. Hey, we'll see you here tomorrow. We've got Kelton Hatch tomorrow with Idaho Fish and Game, right?
Roadkill of the month.
And,
could be a Christmas recipe for your family.
We'll see you then. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Kelly.